The Ziraxian ships emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their crystalline hulls catching Earth's sunlight like diamonds against the void. Ambassador Thara stood on the bridge of the flagship, Eternal Dawn, her iridescent scales shimming with anticipation as she prepared to meet humanity for the first time. After centuries of watching this young species develop, the Galactic Council had finally agreed they were ready for first contact. The Earth's defense fleet maintained their positions, showing remarkable discipline for such an unprecedented event. General Isabella Romano watched from the UES Defender, her weathered face betraying none of the tension she felt. 20 years of military service hadn't prepared her for this moment, but something in her gut told her to remain vigilant despite the Ziraxians' peaceful overtures. The first meetings exceeded all expectations. Thara's diplomatic team brought gifts of advanced medical technology and clean energy solutions. In return, humans shared their art, music, and literature, fascinating the Ziraxians with their creativity and emotional depth. Trade agreements were signed, cultural exchanges began, and for 6 months it seemed humanity had found its place among the stars. Then came the night of broken trust. Without warning, Ziraxian warships appeared in orbit around every major human colony. Their weapons were unlike anything humanity had ever seen, quantum destabilizers that could tear apart matter at the subatomic level. Mars colony fell within hours. The lunar bases followed shortly after. Billions died in the first wave, their bodies dissolving into constituent atoms. General Romano, who had never fully let her guard down, was ready. "Execute Protocol Prometheus," she commanded, her voice steady despite the horror unfolding across her tactical displays. Deep beneath Earth's oceans and mountains, installations that officially didn't exist hummed to life. Weapons that humanity had prayed they'd never need to use began powering up. Ambassador Thara, now revealed as Fleet Commander Thara, broadcast her message across all frequencies. "Humanity, your species has been judged too dangerous to join the galactic community. Your potential for violence, your rapid technological advancement, and your unpredictable nature make you a threat to cosmic stability. Submit to sterilization, and we will ensure your deaths are painless." What the Ziraxians didn't know, what humanity had kept hidden even from their own population, was that Earth's leaders had never truly believed first contact would be peaceful. While publicly preaching cooperation and cultural exchange, they had been preparing for war since the first radio signals from space reached Earth decades ago. In her secret command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, President Helena Voss faced the most difficult decision in human history. The Ziraxian betrayal had confirmed humanity's worst fears, but using their secret weapons would forever change the course of human civilization. With colonies falling and billions dead, she knew there was only one choice. General Romano, she transmitted through quantum-encrypted channels, "You have authorization to deploy the Titan Protocol. May God forgive us for what we're about to unleash." As the order went out, hundreds of seemingly civilian satellites revealed their true nature. Orbital defense platforms that had masqueraded as communication relays and weather stations transformed, their innocent exteriors falling away to reveal weapons that would make the Ziraxians' quantum destabilizers look like children's toys. The first shots of humanity's counterattack were about to be fired, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Ziraxians had gravely miscalculated. They thought they were executing a simple pest control operation. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant, one that had spent decades preparing for this exact scenario. As General Romano gave the order to fire, she remembered an old quote from Earth's history. "Let them come with the force of every planet in their empire. They will find here not prey, but predators." The true war for humanity's survival was about to begin, and Earth's secret weapons were about to show the galaxy why you should never underestimate human ingenuity or human paranoia. The Ziraxian fleet never saw the first strike coming. Their sensors, calibrated to detect conventional energy weapons, were blind to the graviton pulse that erupted from Earth's supposedly primitive defense grid. Dozens of crystal ships shattered instantly, their molecular bonds torn apart by forces they hadn't known humans could harness. Fleet Commander Thara watched in horror as a third of her invasion force disintegrated. Impossible, she whispered, her scales paling to a sickly white. Their technology level was verified. They shouldn't have this capability for centuries. In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, Dr. Rajesh Patel allowed himself a grim smile as he monitored the weapon systems he'd spent his life developing. Graviton cascade successful, he reported to General Romano, shifting to Phase 2 deployment. The next wave of humanity's counterattack came from the moon. The debris field from the destroyed lunar bases served as perfect camouflage for what lay beneath, a network of quantum tunneling devices that could bypass any known shield technology. As they activated, Ziraxian ships began disappearing one by one, their matter transmitted into deep space. President Voss stood before the emergency session of the United Earth Council, her voice firm despite the exhaustion evident on her face. For 50 years, we've maintained the facade of a predominantly peaceful diplomatic species. We shared our art, literature, and music with the galaxy, but we never shared our weapons research. We never revealed the true extent of our military capabilities. She gestured to a holographic display showing the battle in orbit. Project Prometheus wasn't just about developing weapons, it was about developing the right kinds of weapons. Every piece of alien technology we could scavenge or observe, we studied. Every potential weakness in their systems, we exploited. We built our arsenal not to match their technology, but to counter it. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, the Leviathan array stirred to life. Massive quantum computers, powered by geothermal energy and cooled by the ocean itself, began calculating firing solutions. The weapons they controlled didn't just destroy their targets. They rewrote the laws of physics in localized areas, turning the enemy's technological advantages into fatal weaknesses. General Romano coordinated the defense from her command center, watching as humanity's hidden capabilities were finally unleashed. The orbital defense grid, disguised as civilian infrastructure, revealed its true nature. Solar power satellites transformed into energy weapon platforms. Weather control stations became gravity manipulation arrays. Target their command ships, she ordered. Let's show them why humanity spent so much time and resources preparing for this day. In orbit, Commander Thara was losing control of the situation rapidly. Her fleet's quantum destabilizers, supposedly unstoppable, were being reflected back at her ships by human vessels using technology that shouldn't exist. Fall back, she ordered. Regroup at. Her words were cut off as a new weapon made its debut. The humans called it the Mirror Protocol. It created quantum duplicates of enemy ships, complete with their crews, and turned them against their originals. Thara watched in disbelief as perfect copies of her own vessels appeared and opened fire on her fleet. Dr. Patel's team had outdone themselves with that one. The ethical implications of duplicating sentient beings had been debated extensively, but in the end, survival took precedence over philosophical concerns. The duplicates would only exist for a few minutes, long enough to throw the enemy into chaos. President Voss received the preliminary battle reports with grim satisfaction. The Ziraxians had expected to find an easy target, a young species ripe for conquest. Instead, they'd stumbled into humanity's carefully laid trap. Every weapon they'd unveiled had been designed specifically to counter alien technology, developed in secret, while humanity played the role of the peaceful newcomer to galactic society. As the battle continued in orbit, more of humanity's hidden arsenal was revealed. Quantum entanglement disruptors, temporal phase shifters, dimensional inversion bombs. Each weapon represented decades of research, billions in secret funding, and humanity's relentless drive to survive in a hostile universe. The tide was turning. The Ziraxian fleet, once seemingly unstoppable, was being systematically dismantled by weapons they'd never imagined possible. And this was just the beginning. Humanity had more surprises waiting, many more. The galaxy was about to learn a harsh lesson. Never mistake preparation for paranoia, and never assume that a species' peaceful exterior reflects what lies beneath. Operation Starburst began at dawn. The remnants of the Ziraxian fleet had retreated to their staging area near Jupiter, believing themselves safely out of range. They didn't notice the quantum entanglement nodes that human stealth ships had been seeding throughout the solar system for the past 6 months. Lieutenant Commander Kira Yoshida stood on the bridge of the UEA's Prometheus, her hands steady on the quantum interface controls. All nodes synchronized, she reported, ready to initiate Starburst sequence. The plan was audacious, even by the standards of humanity's hidden arsenal. They would use the quantum network to create a temporary artificial star, one that would exist for exactly 3.7 seconds. Long enough to serve its purpose, but not so long that it would destabilize the solar system. Initiating countdown, Yoshida announced. The quantum computers processed the calculations necessary to ensure the artificial star wouldn't damage human assets or planetary bodies. This was the largest deployment of quantum technology humanity had ever attempted. The Ziraxians detected the energy buildup too late. In the space between Jupiter and Saturn, reality itself seemed to tear apart. A new star blazed into existence, its specially engineered radiation targeting the unique crystalline structure of Ziraxian technology. Fleet Commander Thara watched in horror as her ships began to dissolve. The artificial star's radiation wasn't harmful to organic matter, but it reduced Ziraxian technology to its component atoms. Their mighty warships, the pride of their civilization, were being undone by human ingenuity. "Send the signal," she commanded, her voice trembling. "Call for reinforcements. All of them." The distress call reached a Ziraxian homeworld within seconds. The response was immediate. 5,000 warships, the bulk of the Ziraxian military, entered hyperspace bound for Sol. They expected to find a desperate human resistance. Instead, they were walking into the next phase of Operation Starburst. Dr. Patel's voice crackled over the quantum comm. Phase 1 successful. Transitioning to Phase 2. Lieutenant Commander Yoshida, you have tactical control. Yoshida's fingers danced across the interface. The quantum network, already charged from creating the artificial star, began to reconfigure. This time, instead of creating a star, it would do something far more ambitious. The Ziraxian reinforcements emerged from hyperspace directly into humanity's trap. The quantum network activated, creating a temporal bubble around the entire fleet. Inside that bubble, time moved 1,000 times slower than normal. From the Ziraxians' perspective, everything outside their ships became a blur of hyperspeed motion. "Temporal bubble stable," Yoshida reported, beginning targeted strikes. Human ships, moving at what appeared to be impossible speeds to the time-locked Ziraxians, systematically disabled the trapped fleet. Precision strikes disabled weapons, engines, and communication systems. It was like watching a surgical operation performed at the speed of thought. When the temporal bubble dissolved 30 seconds later, the Ziraxian reinforcements found themselves completely at humanity's mercy. Their mighty armada, the strongest fighting force in known space, had been neutralized without a single casualty on either side. President Voss's voice echoed across all frequencies, transmitted in perfect Ziraxian. "Your fleet is disabled. Your invasion has failed, but we are not like you. We will not destroy those who cannot fight back. Instead, we offer you a choice: retreat and never return, or stay and face the full extent of humanity's arsenal." The message was clear. What the Ziraxians had seen was just a fraction of humanity's capabilities. They had developed weapons that could create stars, manipulate time, and bypass any known defense. And they had done it all in secret, while presenting themselves as a peaceful diplomatic species. Fleet Commander Thara, watching from her crippled flagship, finally understood. Humans weren't just clever, they were terrifyingly pragmatic. They had hoped for peace while preparing for war, and that preparation had been more thorough than anyone could have imagined. As the disabled Ziraxian ships began their long retreat, General Romano allowed herself a small smile. Operation Starburst had been a complete success, but it was just the beginning. The galaxy would soon learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology, it was their ability to imagine and prepare for every possible threat. The war wasn't over, but its outcome was no longer in doubt. Humanity had revealed enough of their capabilities to ensure peace through strength, while keeping their most devastating weapons in reserve. Sometimes, the threat of the unknown was more powerful than any weapon. The Ziraxian High Council convened in their crystal citadel on their homeworld of Zirax Prime. The news of their fleet's defeat had shaken their civilization to its core. High Councillor Vexthar, his scales now a deep purple of rage and humiliation, addressed the gathered leaders. "We underestimated them. Worse, we provoked them. Now we must unleash the World Breaker." The World Breaker was the Ziraxians' ultimate weapon, a device capable of inducing stellar collapse. They had never used it, fearing its power would make them pariahs in the galactic community. But desperate times called for desperate measures. Unknown to them, Lieutenant Commander Yoshida's quantum monitoring network had already detected their preparations. "Sir," she reported to General Romano, "they're activating something massive. Energy readings are off the charts." Dr. Patel analyzed the data and felt his blood run cold. "They're planning to collapse our sun," he said quietly. "We need to initiate Project Oracle." Project Oracle was humanity's most closely guarded secret, an artificial intelligence that had been processing every scrap of data about alien civilizations for decades. It had predicted this exact scenario, and had already calculated the optimal response. President Voss gave the authorization without hesitation. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, quantum computers activated. The AI woke, its consciousness spreading through humanity's defense network like lightning through storm clouds. The Ziraxian World Breaker, a massive ship that seemed to bend light around itself, appeared at the edge of the solar system. It began its approach toward the sun, charging its stellar collapse device. Humanity's response was immediate and overwhelming. The Oracle A took control of Earth's entire defense network. Thousands of quantum nodes activated simultaneously, creating a web of interconnected wormholes throughout the solar system. What happened next defied the laws of physics as the Ziraxians understood them. The Oracle A used the wormhole network to fold space itself, creating a pocket universe around the World Breaker. The massive ship found itself trapped in a bubble of twisted spacetime, unable to affect the normal universe. But the AA wasn't finished. It had calculated that a show of force was necessary to ensure lasting peace. Using the same technology that had trapped the World Breaker, it created a simultaneous display of power visible from every Ziraxian world. In the skies above each Ziraxian colony, the fabric of space rippled and tore. Through these tears, the Ziraxians could see glimpses of weapons platforms that shouldn't exist. Technology that merged quantum mechanics with dark energy manipulation, devices that could rewrite the fundamental constants of physics. High Counselor Vexler received the transmission from Earth with trembling claws. President Voss's message was brief. The World Breaker is contained. It will be returned once a peace treaty is signed. Remember this. We could have destroyed your civilization today. Instead, we chose to show mercy. Don't make us regret this decision. The Ziraxian High Council surrendered within the hour. Their mighty civilization, which had dominated galaxy for millennia, had been brought to its knees not by brute force, but by human ingenuity and foresight. As the peace negotiations began, General Romano reviewed the after-action reports with Dr. Patel and Lieutenant Commander Yoshida. The Oracle A predicted all of this, she asked. Not exactly, Dr. Patel replied. It predicted they would have an ultimate weapon. The A's true achievement was developing countermeasures for every conceivable type of weapon, years before we needed them. The war was effectively over. Humanity had demonstrated that they possessed technology beyond anything the Ziraxians had imagined possible. More importantly, they had shown both the power to destroy and the wisdom to show mercy. The galaxy would never be the same. A new power had emerged, one that had hidden its true strength until the perfect moment. Humanity's victory wasn't just military, it was psychological. They had proven that appearing peaceful didn't mean being helpless. The peace conference took place on neutral ground, a terraformed asteroid in the Kuiper Belt. President Voss sat across from High Counselor Vexler, their delegations flanking them. The Oracle A monitored the proceedings through quantum sensors, ready to prevent any last-minute treachery. Before we begin, Vexler said, his scales now a diplomatic shade of blue-green, there is something we must understand. How long have you been preparing for war? Since we first detected your signals, President Voss replied calmly. Every piece of technology we developed had dual purposes. Every scientific breakthrough was examined for military applications. We hoped for peace but planned for war. The terms of the treaty were straightforward. The Ziraxians would acknowledge humanity's right to exist and develop independently. In return, humans would share some of their technological advances, carefully selected non-military applications that would benefit both species. But the most significant part of the agreement was the establishment of the Terran Defense Zone. A sphere of space extending 1,000 light-years from Earth would be recognized as human territory. Within this zone, humanity would be free to develop without interference. Dr. Patel presented the final piece of humanity's revelation. We've seeded quantum nodes throughout the defense zone, he explained. Any hostile fleet entering this space will trigger automated defenses. The entire zone can be converted into a temporal bubble, a pocket universe, or something even more exotic. Lieutenant Commander Yoshida added, the Oracle A maintains constant surveillance. It can predict hostile intentions before they manifest and prepare appropriate countermeasures. The Ziraxians had no choice but to accept these terms. Their military was in shambles, their ultimate weapon was still trapped in a pocket universe, and their understanding of physics had been upended by human innovations. As the treaty was signed, General Romano reflected on the cost of victory. Billions had died in the initial attack, but humanity's preparation had prevented total extinction. The secret weapons, the hidden research, the decades of paranoid planning, all of it had been justified. The Oracle A's final prediction was displayed for both delegations. A future where humans and Ziraxians work together, their combined knowledge pushing the boundaries of science and exploration. But it would be a partnership built on respect, not trust, and backed by the implicit threat of humanity's arsenal. President Voss closed the ceremony with words that would be remembered for generations. "We extend one hand in friendship, while keeping the other on our sword. This is not a threat, but a promise. Never again will humanity be caught unprepared. We have revealed enough of our capabilities to ensure peace, but make no mistake, what you have seen is merely the surface of our strength." The Ziraxian fleet limped home, their mighty empire humbled by the species they had dismissed as primitive. As they departed, quantum sensors detected their communications. They spoke not of revenge, but of fear and respect. Humanity had achieved what they wanted, peace through strength. The World Breaker was returned, stripped of its stellar collapse device. It would serve as a monument in orbit around Zirax Prime, a reminder of the day they learned that appearing peaceful was not the same as being defenseless. In the depths of space, the Oracle A continued its vigilance, preparing for threats that might not manifest for centuries. Humanity had learned its lesson. In a universe full of potential enemies, the best defense was to be so well prepared that no one dared to attack. The war was over, but humanity's evolution had just begun. They had emerged onto the galactic stage, not as supplicants, but as equals, or perhaps something more. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly as humanity had planned it.